All right, it's Crockett 36, and this mess is the battle for Moscow. You're going to see. Now, I wanted to show you that this is my game with Schultze. It's turn 11 or 12 for the Germans. They're about to attack Moscow. It's a 51% battle. Excuse me. 49 there. And I left it that intentionally. I 53. I've had bad luck all game. I've been playing catch up. And I did think that actually I'd turned a corner on that. But I did intentionally do this. I felt like I needed to make some progress somewhere, and I decided to send my fighters against Karelia, land them in Finland, and then drop a factory there for the Americans. And I thought that would make a huge difference. But this is the battle for Moscow. Now, I've got radar. So the entire game is really in this radar role. And all the game long, I had terrible luck in 110, and he had one hit. I had one hit in 110. I believe with a full scram. No, it was just one hit in 110. So he has, and then I send fighters against the battleship, and he takes them all three down. Terrible luck in 97 as well. I had, and then I let him have this technology here. He has 69 of these. These are self-propelled artillery. It's a ridiculous technology. I'll never play with this again. It's too much. It's attacks 2, moves 2. The only thing it doesn't do is blitz. So I'm replacing that in my house rule game with a light tank. I'll explain that when I'm done. But this defends 2, attacks 2, elevates infantry by 2. For $4. It's and what does he do? He buys all 60. Who would buy? When would you ever see a board where you had 69 artillery? You would never see that. It's unrealistic. Twists the game quite a bit. So. Just endless supply, and of course favors heavily who? Germany, right? I mean, we've got railroads. Well, who does that favor? Germany, right? So I mean, just the house rules need to be adjusted. So, and I'm adjusting them. But I had plenty of resources in the area. I was very happy with that. Right there, was able to go both ways, both toward this way as well as that way. I've got a nice spread over here. I was proud I came back after some terrible, terrible luck. And he just keeps getting lucky everywhere. We had a terrible battle in northwest Persia where I outnumbered him, and he just completely decimated me. I'll try to do a video where I show all the times that he got just ridiculously lucky. And, when you get ridiculously lucky, you're going to win. What can you say? So yeah, I'm frustrated, absolutely. But between the luck and this technology right here, it was a very discouraging. I actually offered him the battles, and I thought he had me on 3 different occasions in Moscow, and I also posted this fleet in 7, hoping that we would see some exchange and maybe his luck would fall through. And this is one of the reasons why I gave him a 50-50 battle here, is so that to see. I mean, he's been so lucky that I was like, well, his luck's got to break at some point in time, or let's just put me out of my misery, because it's just miserable to come from behind, just fighting and letting him, just just try to hold it. Now, like I said, I thought I was coming back. I thought I was holding Calcutta. I thought I was holding this. Maybe making a little bit of progress. It's going to be a very long game. But honestly speaking, I think if I had shot down 3 of his fighters here, it would have been game. I think he would have actually capitulated after that. So, the battle calc shows 50%. Oops. The battle calc and I didn't use the battle calc at all this game, but the battle calc shows right around 50%. 48 there, due to 200 rolls again, 52%. So 50%. But it all hinges on this first roll. Check it out. What happens?
Guns to shoot it at 2, right?
Yes, I do.
All right, so I got 2, 4 plus 7 is 11.
All right.
11 at 2. Here's the AA guns. I'm just gonna do the Battle for Moscow and then do the rest of my turn on another video.
Okay.
So here's the 11 at 2. 11 at 2, Croc, guess what?
Yep.
1.
No kidding.
Okay, now watch this. Now watch this. So he does his own roll. First roll is what? First roll he gets 3 hits. After rolling, he's going to get 3 hits rolling 10 dice. He does not roll another series of 10 dice and get less than.
2, 3.
He gets 2.
There's 3 hits.
He never gets less than 2. He gets a maximum of 7. Right there. 3 more. Right there. All I needed was, this is 10, by the way, not 11.
Another 10, this will be 30.
Right there's 3 more. 4 more. Right there. Okay?
My 2s.
This is your 2s?
3 and 4. So this will be 40.
Again.
1, 2, 3, 4.
4. Okay, there's 4. 4 more.
This 3, 1. This will be 69.
Right there. Right there. 7.
Oh,
7 out of 10.
1, 2.
So how in the world am I supposed to win when he's rolling like that? And then
plus 4 is 11.
and then I don't get as good a rolls. He's rolling for me, but somehow my dice don't end up rolling as well. So, you know, who knows? I mean, it's ridiculous. So pretty frustrating. Pretty frustrating. But like I said, I wanted to get it over with. I was frustrated with this tech right here. I wanted out of that game. So I offered him 50-50. I did make significant progress over here, and was because I had these 8 fighters in Moscow, and I was going to fly him back. He knew that. So I wanted him to pull the trigger. I wanted to get lucky. Let's see how the battle goes right here, though. Okay. So imagine this is the battle, right? Boom. Right there. Anti-aircraft are about to fire. Okay, I got 2 hits. Okay, we were in 4 rounds of combat. That's 4 dice. He, at the end of this, he makes a mistake, takes off 3 more than he should. I should be rolling 58 in the second round. He only rolls 55. But then rolls 5 upon my request. But then continues to use what would have been a dead dice, right? Because I do get 1 hit out of the 5. And he continues to use the dead dice. So it's pretty hard to determine the actual downrange effects. But then also factor in the fact that this is another dice roll. A 1 less dice that he'll have, right? So there we go. Take that off. Russians roll 31. Russians select. Now, 32 right there. Okay, huge difference. Right here, this battle sure looks like it's not going to go in his favor. Right? So Russians select 27. Now the second round he got 20. So the second round I got 19. Okay, so this could be close. This is going to go to him, I think. Remain. 14. Oh, that was a bad roll. But I only get 11. Oh man. Select 11. Select 11. Okay. He's into the tanks. Remains. 12 casualties. He's only got the airplanes left. 3. Oh. And he remains. And he takes it. He takes London. I mean, takes the capital. All right. Russians win with 2 tanks. That's ridiculous. All right. So, like I said, I kind of wanted out of the game on a couple occasions. Let's go over some of the house rules that I had that I thought were good, but I also thought there was a couple that I don't like, and that I want to want to change. Let's see here. I'm going to pause this for a second. All right. Reviewing the house rules. You cannot convoy unless you're at war. That you cannot interrupt lend-lease unless at war. That is solid. Common sense. You cannot occupy originally Russian territories and still receive a bonus for not being at war. Common sense again. You cannot load troops onto transports in a hostile Z zone ever. Common sense. You cannot capture capital money more than once. The money will be returned to the bank after that. That is, I'm not going to actually, I'm going to change that. We're going to go with cap, which is you have to surround a capital in order to capture the money. The great thing about that is that, for instance, with Paris, the Allies had a significant landing in Normandy. The Germans would have to take back Normandy and Paris in order to secure the money. And in order to take Moscow, if you want all the money in Moscow, you have to surround it by taking Samara, Tamba. I think it's like 5 different places: Bryansk, Smolensk, Vologda, Samara, and Tambov. And of course India. You have to take West India as well, which is pretty hard. So that will reduce that. Rail, we're not going to do rail. Still got to figure out that is just so advantageous to the axis. So that ended up being terrible. I mean, here I am trying to make some progress in Greece right here, and not only do I have these, but you can rail 4 units, and then 5 units, and 5 units from here, and 2 from here. It's just ridiculous amount of mobility between the these silly self-propelled artillery and the rail. So what I think we're going to do is we're going to limit all rail to 2 per factory. So instead of the actual number, or maybe we'll do 2 for majors and 1 for minors. That might be actually better. 2 for majors, 1 for minors. So rail was just too much in favor. The Axis, whatever you do, the Axis have a potential for always having a better, greater benefit because they're in the middle, and they have so many. They have so many more troops on the board, even if you have, as the Allies, more money. Because if you have 5, let's say you had heavy tanks, which we don't. Who starts out the game with the most tanks, right? So it's obviously benefiting the Axis the most. Advanced mech, advanced artillery, every one of those favors the Axis more, right? So it's very tricky. All boats can carry 1 Marine. They cost 4 and attack 2. Never use that because my software made it difficult. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to have all boats can carry 1. Cruisers and destroyers can carry 1 infantry. You just have to pay an extra $1 to load it on that and use it. And then they can be amphibious troops that are that attack at a 2 in the first round of combat. Okay, so I'll show them to you in a minute. Rockets, big fail. I mean, again, I had rockets. If you're 4 to 6 is a miss. They would be OP if we just did out of box. 4 to 6 is a miss. I mean, I had a terrible round previous because my rockets have missed two times in a row, and then all my convoying, all my subs missed too. So it was pretty discouraging. I mean, it's like I said, if you're not hitting, then the game kind of sucks. So paratroopers can be used in non-com. We're going to take paratroopers off the tech chart. Paratroopers are just, that's it. You get to use them turn 1. Everyone gets paratroopers. And no self-propelled artillery. We're getting rid of that. We're not playing with Tokyo Advantage. Everyone gets this advantage. Just have to pay $1 for it to turn them into Marines. Extra training. We're not going to do this with technologies. We're going to I'll show you what we're going to do at the end. But there are limiting factors to which nation gets what, but I've got a new idea for that. Russian ships may pass through the Danish Straits unless war is declared. That's great. Lend-Lease is not disrupted by the presence of foreign units. Of course not, because basically they're Lend-Lease. We're going to get rid of Russian war bonds only available after war. And we're going to get rid of heavy bombers and long-range air only available after 5. We're going to make that, I think, turn 4. So let's go to what I'm thinking for house rules. Comment. Let me review it with you. All right. So, common sense fixes and flavors. You cannot convoy unless at war. You cannot interrupt Lend-Lease unless at war. You cannot occupy. This is for the new game we're going to start. You cannot occupy originally Russian territories and still receive a bonus for not being at war. Common sense. You cannot load transports onto load troops onto transports in a hostage zone ever. Common sense. You cannot capture capital money unless you surround the capital. If you fail to do this, you only secure the IPC value of the territory. Now, this is a flavoring thing. This is not a common sense fix, but it does make the gimmicky thing of Paris and the Allies never wanting to capture Paris. It takes that away a little bit. Or completely. And actually, this rule alone could balance the game. It makes, for instance, taking Calcutta, you only get the money from Calcutta. So you would have to secure West India in order to get that. And Moscow becomes extremely difficult because you've got to surround the capital, Tambov, Smolensk, Bryansk, Samara, and Vologda, in order to get all the money. Usually at that point, it's not much money. But cruisers and destroyers carry 1 infantry. It costs 1 extra to load or train and load. I'll say train and load onto ships. And they attack at 2 in the first round of amphibious invasions. Paratroopers are not attack. Everyone gets Paras turn 1. Paras can be used in the non-com as well. Rockets is the same as convoying with a modification for both that 1 to 4 is a hit. 5 and 6 is a miss. Russian ships may pass through the Danish Strait unless war is declared. Lend-Lease is not disrupted by the presence of foreign units. Axis shipping is limited by the same restrictions that the U.S. has in the Pacific. No ending naval movements in U.S. or U.K. or neutral sea zones. Technologies are nation specific. Each nation chooses 6 technologies. That is a super chart. Anniversary tokens are used. Each token is an independent research lab and succeeds on its own. This seems really generous, so I'm going to say that you just need to roll a 6. Light tanks replace our advanced mechanized infantry and use the mech sculpt 2. They attack at 2, defend at 2, move 2, and blitz. Cost 4. Everyone gets them from turn 1. This is not a technology. I'm going to pause it. All right. Axis shipping. No ending naval. Axis shipping is limited by the same restrictions that the U.S. has in the Pacific. No ending naval movements in U.S. or U.K. or neutral sea zones. Technologies are nation specific. Each nation chooses 6 technologies. That is the super chart. Anniversary tokens are used. Each token is an independent research lab and succeeds on its own. You must roll 6 to succeed. Light tanks replace the advanced mechanized infantry technology and uses the mech sculpt 2, 2, and 2. And blitz cost 4. This is not a technology. They are available from the start to everyone. Trucks cost 1 IPC and can pull 1 artillery or carry 1 infantry. So that those are some ideas about for my next house rule game. I think they're pretty good. I don't see any that are like iffy. Um, I we do have to run the light tank. The big numbers there, I suppose, would be something like say you buy what's multiple of 4 and 6, so 24. So 24 gets you 4 tanks. Um, 24 gets you 4 tanks, and then you would run times 3, 3 equaling 12 pips. You don't want to make tanks useless. Whereas if you buy 6 times 2, you equal 12. So what's the advantage of buying tanks? Right. Okay. Well, let me think about that. I may not. I may take away the blitzing. So one idea is to take away the blitz, and that way the cost of 4 still makes it worth it uh, to blitz to buy the tank, because you have to have a reason to buy a tank. So I would say cannot blitz. All right, I'm going to say that cannot blitz. That'll, like I said, you still have to want to buy tanks. Yeah, yeah, I like it. Okay, so then I wanted to go over and show you the rule book for Axis and Allies 1940, and just take a look at technology. I'm a big technology advocate, and what would I do with it? So let's take a look. So advanced artillery, pretty useful, obviously, because it elevates 2 infantry or mechanized units when coupled with one artillery. Rockets a little bit too it's overpowered for sure. And like I said, I'm trying to tamp that down to a max of 4. And again, it's another one of those where as soon as the Germans start the game, they rockets gives them an advantage that is just overwhelming, right? So we take a look at all these air bases they inherit. One there, one there, and so right away they have 2 air bases that can launch devastating attacks against their enemies, and then they inherit that one, Novgorod. So 3 air bases in pretty quick order are firing, so it makes it pretty difficult because this air base can go to Moscow, and these 2 can go to London. So stuff. And look at how many air bases the British have. So right there, the British have two air bases. They don't even have an air base in Canada. The Malta air base was taken away, and the Gibraltar air base was taken away. So I guess they do have an air base in Scotland, actually. So that's 3 on the board. But yes, I'm Allied headquarters, so I'm likely to complain about what I consider to be the imbalance in the game. And it's not just an IPC imbalance, it shows up in other ways too. Although it is an IPC imbalance. Let's see, to go down here. Okay, let me pause this. So, rockets, not advantage axis again. Paratroopers. And like I said, I think this should be like instantaneous. Increase factory production, can be pretty useful, obviously. War bonds, pretty cool. A little, wish there was 10-sided dice, maybe? I don't know. 6-sided dice. 8-sided dice. All right, so improved mechanized infantry may now blitz without being paired with a tank. So I don't know. The light tank seems like it'll take over and no one will buy tanks. And you gotta have to want to each of the units, right? Subs, 3 versus 2. I would love it if super subs also defended at 2 instead of 1. So that would be kind of like a possible modification. They did that in Classic, by the way. Jet fighters. So this is going to be restricted to only Germany. Shipyards will be only restricted to America. Radar defending at 2, and also there's, I think, a greater scramble too on that radar. I think it scrambles 4 into the sea zone. Maybe not. Oh, there it is. No. Long-range aircraft increases space by 1. Heavy bombers. I want to make this and modify this and give this an atomic bomb after a certain, like you roll the dice and after round 7, 8, and if you roll a 6, you pay to upgrade your heavy bombers to an atomic bomber, basically. I do love heavy bombers, though. So those are the techs. Like I said, I think that each nation could choose a super tech, make up their own chart, and then roll the dice. Where is my Google Docs? So, yep. Pause this again. All right, I got to go to bed. But one more modification to light tanks. Cannot blitz, but can pass through an empty territory without capturing it. So you could actually, for instance, if Smolensk was empty, you would pass through Smolensk and it'd still attack Moscow. But because it's not a tank, you would either have to leave one there in order to capture it, or get a tank to do it. All right, that'll make it so it's still worth $6 to grab a tank. The other possibility is defending at 1. That would be another possibility, but yeah, since artillery defends it, it's basically moving artillery. All right, well that's some ideas for my next house rule game. I admit defeat, and I will not be using the what I consider the overpowered self-propelled artillery that was all he bought most of the game, which is what we don't want to do with light tanks. All right, we'll see if we can get this right. It is, you ever play around with house rules? It is not easy to get it right. So cut Larry some slack, because any adjustment, small adjustments, has a ripple effect, butterfly effect. All right, crack it out. Admitting defeat, and also playing a bad luck.